ready to talk hockey. Streaming from the Oilers Live Studio. Subscribe or follow today.
What's up, everybody? This is Oilers Live here on X, on YouTube, and on Edmonton Sports Talk. You can tune in with TuneIn Radio and iHeartRadio for that. And joining me tonight for the Stanley Cup Final Game 1 breakdown, I've got Josh from Tough Call Pod. How you doing, Josh?
Doing great, Lotsy. Good to be here, buddy.
Good, glad to have you, and it's nice to do a show with you. So we'll get started by just talking about the emotional last night and where were you watching and how were you feeling after the goal? How did you celebrate?
So this was the first game all playoffs that my son stayed up with me. I'm pretty sure he was falling asleep for the first half of overtime. He did wake up for the goal. I got him woken up for the power play because I just knew it was coming. And I ran through the kitchen pretty hard. I would say that everyone upstairs knew that goal had gone in.
As they should.
Very satisfying. But yeah, it was great. I have a little game watching routine. I sit in the same chair every time. Now I know that's normal, but I also, for whatever reason, last year they seemed to win whenever I had chicken wings during the game. So I just took that on. So every game I have a box of chicken wings, and I don't always eat them, but I have to cook them. It's a ceremonial thing. So at the second period, 10-minute mark, I preheat the oven. And then by the time they cook through the second intermission, and then I eat them during the third period. That's one thing I do. And I have to have a glass of Pepsi beside me. And when things aren't going well, I change the Pepsi. I top it up a little bit here and there, whatever. That's my game time routine. So I was doing that, glued into my chair, and everything's been working out, coming up roses for the last 2 playoff runs.
That's amazing. I love that. I mean, wings are always a good choice. That's a great game day food and pair nicely with Pepsi. Now, the real question is, what kind of wings?
So sometimes, sometimes I plan ahead. Sometimes it's last minute and I just scoot to whatever store. But last night, it doesn't seem to matter what flavor. Last night I went with honey garlic. It's been so long between series that I was actually craving them again. I wasn't sick of them anymore. So I was really looking forward to them last night. And yeah, so I put in some honey garlic last night. It was delicious.
There we go. See, I'm more of a hot wing guy. Every time I deviate away from hot wings, I'm always disappointed. But can't go wrong with wings, though. Me and myself, I ended up at the fan park last night. I'm kind of the opposite of you. Like when I first got my apartment, right in 2021, it was during the pandemic, and that was the year that Winnipeg swept us 4 straight. So I was forced to watch every game in my apartment, and we lost all 4. So that was a bad omen. That wasn't great. And I have probably watched like less than a handful of playoff games in my apartment ever since then. I remember game 1 of the Flames series. I started watching here, but then that game got out of hand real quick. And then I ventured over to a bar on White because I live within walking distance. And we started to come back. So it's all superstition and it's all in good fun. I know I have no control over the outcome, but I'm definitely one of those fans that likes to think a lot about what they're wearing. What socks do I wear? What hat do I wear?
Don't sell yourself short, man. You have some power. We have power.
And that's just my justification to make myself not sound so insane. But you know what? I'm glad we're on the same page. I'm glad you understand hockey fandom at its finest.
As an East Coast fan, in the regular season, I often watch some of the game. I'll watch the first period or whatever, go to sleep, and I'll watch the rest of the game the next day. So obviously it's in real time over. And I still feel like I can affect the outcome of that game depending on what I do. So that's the power we have over this thing.
Absolutely. I do the same sort of thing whenever I on tape delay in the regular season. Like I throw my jersey on and I plop myself down on the couch, watch from the start. Like you got it. You got to. But yeah, I ended up at the fan park last night. The Arkells put on a good show before the game. That was a lot of fun. And yeah, I was hanging out with Patrick, the Oil Fanatic. Subscribe to that if you haven't done so already. Patrick puts out a lot of really great content, and yours truly did his post game review with him last night from the Moss Pit. So that was a lot of fun. Um, but yeah, they kind of opened it up a little bit for the Cup Finals because they have the concert, they have the big stage in the north side of the parking lot. They opened up the tent, got rid of the picnic tables. There's still a screen in there. It's a little cooler, so you can stand in there and watch if you want. There's bleacher seating for those that want it, and there's a lot of space for those that want to stand and watch the game outside on the big screen. It's kind of like a more comfortable version of the Moss Pit. It's not quite as crazy, but it's fun.
I'm sure it still does the trick. The atmosphere must be amazing out there in Alberta.
Absolutely, it's been a blast. It's just I just love the way the city comes alive and everyone comes together, and I just love being involved in the crowd, whether I'm at the game or at the Moss Pit or Fan Park. And I'm just having a great time, just going through this run with so many fun people and feeling the vibes from everybody. It's been a great time. But yeah, big celebration from everybody when Leon scored the goal last night. It's great. Moss Pit, you don't have a lot of room to move, but I got the big fist pump in there.
Okay, there you go.
That one in. So that was a lot of fun. But I'm sure a lot of you tuning in because you were promised some game one analysis. So let's get into it. Let's start with the challenge. Okay, so Draisaitl gets the building going, like ignites a crowd that was already raucous at Rogers Place with that goal just over a minute into the game. And then Sam Bennett does Sam Bennett things. Right? Take us through what happened there, Josh.
I mean, he, the one I had my hands up in the air already before the puck was even shot at the net because the puck was going in the corner and Kachuk was chasing it, and Wallman could have got to it, but Bennett hooked him back a little bit. So that was already kind of frustrating. That little bit of interference, smart play, and there's been picks like that all playoffs, and a lot of them have gone uncalled. So why not? But anyway, still no harm yet. And then Kachuk puts it out in the slot, and the shot goes to the net, and I didn't really expect much out of it. And the next thing you know, I turned to the left and I realized, I can't even see Stuart Skinner because Bennett's all over him and the puck just goes in the net. I'm like, what? I didn't even really live see what happened because I was following the puck. And then on the replay, it's like, geez, I don't know if I challenge that. I don't. I feel like it's one of those ones where whatever the call on the ice was, there was nothing in the review that would have changed it either way. That was my opinion of it. I can see why people think that it should be interference, but I can also see why they called it the way they did and let the review do its job. And unfortunately, I think it's just one of those 50-50 ones where there's nothing conclusive either way. However, I did put a video out myself on my Tough Call channel of the trajectory Bennett takes. Like when you really watch it, it's amazing how much his feet move and how much he's able to alter his path of travel. Like he's following back across the front of the crease, and then somehow he pivots midair like the magic bullet of JFK and drives himself forward somehow midair. So it's one of those ones where you can tell he's controlling his fall, and yet also I don't feel like he could have prevented himself from falling completely. So I don't know. I feel like it wasn't the right call to challenge it. Honestly, that's my take on it.
I mean, at first glance, now keep in mind I was standing in a big crowd of people and wearing Oilers colored glasses at the time, but I was really watching the battle with the Bennett and Wallman in front because that's where I assumed Bennett fell. Right, like I thought there was
Right.
something happened with Wallman, and I'm watching that battle real close. I'm like, there is nothing. Like Wallman didn't do anything. If anything, Bennett hooked Wallman a little bit. That was my initial thought. And it wasn't until the very last replay, like after they called the goal off and I had my moment of anger, that I realized that it was Craig Simpson that pointed out Kulak's skate. And I watched Kulak skate. I was like, oh, that's why. I mean, there was definitely contact from Kulak's skate it was Bennett's heel that he kind of hit. So like, I totally understand why that play would have resulted in Bennett falling down. And I also understand Stuart Skinner's perspective that he had no chance to make the save, right? But it's one of those ones where the action of the defender caused the offender to fall into the goaltender, right? So I thought of it as an unfortunate break, and I agree. I don't think it was a smart challenge. I get where Knobloch's coming from, but I just don't think it was worth it. It's kind of like the Jim Hiller challenge in Game 3. It would have been tough to overturn that one, and the, the challenge ended up biting the Kings in the butt. Well, the Oilers paid a similar price, except we managed to get away with the win in this one.
My thought immediately went to that Kings challenge. We talked about that a lot on this network amongst our group, and
Yeah.
how much it affected that series. And that was, of course, where my first thought went was, oh boy, this just completely turned this game around. And will this be one of those moments? A lot can happen. It's only game one for sure, but like, the difference between being up 1-0 and down 1-0, especially when you think about how last year went. It was a pivotal decision to make. Now, look, I respect the guts to do it, honestly, and it speaks to how people feel about goaltender interference challenges league wide, um, where it's literally a coin toss, and you take your chances. It was gutsy. I'll say that.
I totally get your point. You're like, if you're unsure, you think you might have an argument, you might as well try, just because you never know what the league office is going to think, right? But
Mm.
that one, and the Jim Hiller one in particular, I didn't necessarily see anything. Like, I thought the arguments were kind of stretches for those ones, but they are what they are. But at the end of the day, it was 2-1 at that point. But that had potential to have a big big impact on the outcome of that game, because what do you say to yourself as a road team when you're going into a hostile environment like Rogers Place, right? Survive the first 10 minutes, right? Just survive. And the Oilers got to them early, right? We took advantage of the momentum we had from the crowd. We got that goal a minute in, and we were looking good. Like, the game settled in after a little while, but we had a lead. And within the span of like a minute and a fraction of a minute after that, it's 2-1.
Yeah.
Right? So suddenly the building's a little bit quieter, and suddenly we're down by a goal to the defending champs after that incredible start. Right? We thought things were going so rosy, and then, oh boy, here we go again. I had that thought in my head for a little bit. I was like, oh boy, here we go again.
Yeah.
But that was a little foolish in retrospect.
Well, I think we all feel it. This is a different Oilers team. The way they react to moments like that is much calmer. As a fan, I've noticed it. I am way less stressed out watching these games, no matter what the situation is. And I'm not saying like I'm sitting there going, okay, I know they're going to come back, but at least I feel like they can. And it's like, I recognize right now there's something different where if they don't come back, it's like, well, I guess it was meant to be. It's not because they mentally faltered. It's not because they started to crap on each other on the bench. It's not because they somehow took themselves out of the game and beat themselves anymore. Teams have to beat them right now. Someone just said it in the chat. There's no panic. It's absolutely true. It's very calming. It's very businesslike, and they feel like their record does show that. I mean, how many come from behind victories is that now this playoffs, right? And in the third period too. It's not like they were just behind in the first and you call it a come from behind, even though it's still a 50-50 game. I mean, it was 3-1 at one point, and then 3-2 going into the third. So like it's it's moments. It's coming back at any given time by any amount of goals. I don't have a sense of a lack of confidence or lack of faith that this team can get the job done in any situation this year. It's it's fun as a fan when you have that kind of belief because watching Florida's last opponent or you know e- Carolina and Toronto, there was just nothing there to challenge the Panthers the way the Oilers, I feel, can. And the Oilers have been chomping at the bit to do this. And they're, you know, it seems like both teams were just destined, like on this path where there was no way both of them weren't going to make the final again. It was like this was a whole right from the start of the season. This is the whole reason for this season to even exist, is to have this series happen. And to have both teams play the way they did in game one, I think it reflects that. And this is a completely different vibe by both teams from any other playoff series this year so far, and it's only been one game.
Yeah, you're totally spot on. Like, it just from the emotional standpoint of just watching as a fan, like, I totally agree. It's just like there's a lot more poise. Like, I'm a lot more calm and collected because, like, even as a fan, I've been through the biggest moments that we can have as fans, essentially, right? I was in the building for Game 7 last year in Florida, right? Like, doesn't the stakes don't get much higher than that as a fan. And even the Oilers players, like, they've been talking about it all playoffs, but McDavid has been talking about it ever since they advanced. And I've got a QR code with an article that I wrote about the emotional state of the Oilers heading into this series. So you can scan that if you want to give that a read over it, or just head to heavyhockey.com. You'll see it there. But this run has just felt normal to McDavid, right? And I think he speaks for a lot of the players as well. Like, even Stu Skinner after game one, he's saying, yeah, seeing the Stanley Cup on the ice last year before game one, he had googly eyes. But this year it's like, okay, I've seen it before, been there, done that. Settle in, let's play.
Yeah, yeah, it's so fun to watch as a fan, and I'm talking to Florida fans also. There's a couple around here, believe it or not, and I was just talking to one at the ball field this evening, and he has the same thought of the game. He's like, he's watching that going, like, I don't even if we lose, I don't mind losing to a team that is playing like that. I don't mind losing a game like that where both teams are all in and it could have gone either way. And whoever happens to get the bounce at the right time wins a game like that. He said, I would take 7 of those games anytime. And if we lose, we lose. At least I know that it was that kind of hockey and that kind of compete. And if a team is beating you when you're playing that way, then they probably deserve to win.
Yeah, 100%. Like, that was an extremely well played game by both teams. Like, that was high quality hockey. Like, those are two elite offensive teams that had trouble breaking out of their own zone a lot of the times. Like, as a casual fan might sit there and say, oh, it was a lot of icings and it was kind of choppy. But my goodness, they're doing that because the teams are playing there's like such great structural hockey, and so they're being so aggressive on the forecheck and just really fun to watch.
I mean, I've never been obviously in a Stanley Cup final. I've never even been in an NHL playoff game of any kind. But I have been in pretty important games, and they're already mentally different. But then to have a period, like you just said, that first period, there was a lot of stoppages. It seemed like every time the linesman dropped the puck, they would have to drop it again. It just took a long time for the game to get going at times. There was a lot of interruptions. And then in the first period, there was that spur of a lot of penalties. It went from 5-on-5 to 5-on-4 to 4-on-4 and then a 5-on-4 again. It just kind of flip-flopping. Everything was changing so quickly that it was mentally as a player, those are some mentally exhausting periods to get through, and you really have to be all in to reset and focus it all those different scenarios, just one after the other. And both teams were going through that and handling it very well. Like it was a treat to see the best players in the best moment and demonstrating why they're the best at what they do.
Yeah, and like it's not one of those years where we have a Cinderella run and there's a team that's surprised to be here that's kind of new to it all. Nah, these teams are the two best, like very clearly the two best. And it's absolutely going to be a treat. Like, game one was a treat, and the rest of the series is going to be a treat to watch as well.
Now,
So, sorry, go ahead.
after that it's one thing to challenge that. And then, but it's not like they have to score on the power play. You take your chance. You give up a power play to Florida. Our penalty kill has not been great throughout the playoffs. Although, as you pointed out on your last show, it is getting better heading into the final, right? And actually, that was a really good kill. We had the puck in the offensive zone a couple of times during that penalty kill. And what shocked me when I looked back at it is the Florida Panthers didn't enter the zone till the 27-second mark left in the power play. There was 27 seconds left in the power play when that puck crossed the blue line, and they scored when it was 19 seconds left. So 8 seconds from crossing the blue line, if I did my math right. Maybe I didn't, but
I'm an English guy. I don't know. That sounds close.
crossing the blue line till the time that puck was in the net, and it was one of the first times they got to do that cross seamer. I mean, Skinner's not the greatest laterally anyway. Like, it's not like he almost got it, and there was like only a little net to shoot at. I mean, there was quite a bit of net to shoot at, but still, LA was successful early on in the same way with getting that cross seam pass and getting those high quality chances, the same ones that our power play tries to create too. So it was like a no doubter goal on a power play that really didn't set up very well for a minute and a half, and then all of a sudden they just come down and it's like that. So even at that, it was not only frustrating to have your 1-0 lead blown, but then to be down 2-1 and in a point where your penalty kill actually looked pretty good. It was kind of disappointing.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you're totally right. They did have a great kill up until that point. Like the way the Kings did it was a little bit different, right? They started working the puck down low below the face-off dots, and that pulled the Oilers forwards below the dot, and that caused the Oilers a lot of troubles, right? And that just got those forwards chasing, and the Oilers couldn't figure it out for the first 3 games. But they eventually settled in and figured it out. This one, a little bit different. Now, if memory serves me correctly, Bouchard had a chance to clear that puck, but then he couldn't get it out. Right, and then quick strike play. I mean, forwards are expecting the puck to get out there, so maybe they're jumping the zone a little bit early. People aren't quite in the right position, and before you know it, the puck is down to Marchand, and you're shooting it into a wide open net.
Yeah, uh, there was many times where I would say more like both teams, but more so the Oilers. I think we were talking about it in our group too. There was many times where they had a chance to get the puck out of the zone, and they'd get it up to within 2-3 feet of the blue line, and they just couldn't get it that extra 2 feet over the blue line. And Florida did a really nice job of blocking that seam. Whatever the strong side of the puck was, they had two players right there, basically forcing you to will that. Even if you got it over the line, there was no way you were really going to create anything from it anyway. You had to get the puck down past their blue line before you could create any offense. And on that penalty kill, same thing. Yeah, they just could not. They had an opportunity to clear and failed, which is, that was a theme last night for sure.
Yeah, that's 100% right. And I talked about this a little bit in the Stanley Cup preview show that we did, but Florida really likes to load up the strong side, and they're not afraid to send the strong side D to pinch at the blue line just to make sure they keep that puck in. And I think they understand the importance of winning the battle at the blue line, like on both blue lines. They make life difficult at both blue lines. But yeah, that's just why the Oilers didn't get a lot of rush opportunities last night, because Florida made life real tough to get out of the zone. Like I was interested to see, like they didn't really pursue behind the goal line a lot, but I think that was more of a tactical change from last year. Like they'd attack in the corners more, but their goal was to get it on the wall somewhere between like the goal line and the blue line and try to force turnovers there. Right. So I found it a little interesting that they weren't quite as aggressive, like in terms of where they were pressuring. They were sitting back a little bit more than they normally do. But we'll see how that evolves throughout the series.
Something Florida does more than any other team, and I'm trying to put this delicately because I don't think there's anything wrong with this. I don't want to get the pitchforks and the torches fueled up by some of the fans who might hear this. But Florida ignores the puck a lot, which is funny because, they're so good at stopping you from moving the puck and they keep the puck down, but they don't do it by beating you to the puck and winning those races. What they do is if there's a 50-50 race and they have to choose between body and puck, they're choosing body every single time. They will jump over the puck to hit you so that you don't get the puck. So when you see a 50-50 race, especially through the first 3 rounds, Toronto didn't do as bad a job of countering that, but Carolina especially. If there was 2 players running or skating towards the puck, uh, the Florida opponent would kind of pull up, see the body coming, pull up and reach their stick out like this, and the Florida player would just keep going and smash them, and then they would get the puck after. And the Oilers were actually doing a good job of countering that, but for me, the Oilers were um, a little bit puck focused still, but ready for those hits. They weren't necessarily forfeiting the puck like Florida was to get the body, but they were a lot more prepared for those hits. They weren't as overwhelmed as some of the other opposition was. So there were moments where Florida would expect the puck to go, uh, in front of them, and it would end up behind them anyway, and an Oiler would spin out of that body check. And I would dare say, maybe this is Oilers colored glasses, but the first 3 to 4 massive hits, there were a good number. There were probably 10 to 12 throughout the game, and the first 3 to 4 were the Oilers. There was one Kane right off the bat within like
Yeah.
45 seconds or whatever, just massive. And I would say the first 3 to 4 major hits were Oilers players, and I know the hits kind of probably ended up even between the 2 teams throughout the game, but again, I would say similar to what we said against LA, and I'm pretty sure we said it against Vegas too. Even though the hit counts might be similar, the bigger ones, the more one of the crowd pleasing ones would be coming from Oilers players being that physical and we're able to match that physicality and actually kind of up the ante a little bit, which is nice to see that pushback.
Yeah, absolutely. And now, if you would have told us that we'd be having this conversation about this Oilers team back in November, you might have called me crazy, as Dash would like to say,
There
right?
you go.
I think it's been a very intentional strategy for the Oilers to conserve their bodies a little bit more. So I think they identified fatigue in June as a big problem and a reason why they may not have had what they needed in the first 3 games of that Cup final last year. And guys were barely initiating any sort of body contact. We were at the bottom of the league in the hits, especially early in the regular season. But now look at us. Like we've got guys that can do it, right? We've always had these guys that can do it. I mean, we didn't have Kane earlier in the season, granted, or Frederick, right? We've gained a couple of guys that can hit. But everybody's stepping up. Like I look at what Hyman did before he got hurt. He was barely doing anything hit wise in the regular season, and then he's on pace to set a record for hits in the playoffs had he stayed healthy. Right? I think it's been a very intentional strategy by the Oilers to just kind of chill and prepare their bodies for this series, expecting what Florida can do. They're expecting the way that they play, and they're better designed to handle it this year.
Absolutely. And like you said, like back in November, would we have said that? I know a lot of people in our group, we were all saying like the Oilers were objectively a worse team this year than they were last year on paper and sort of even in strategic implementation. Now, having said that, the last year we for years we cried we don't have any depth, we don't have any depth, and then for 2 years in a row we were like, wow, we have almost have too much depth. We don't even know how we would sort the lines out, right? So comparing this team to last year, saying it's worse, it's still a darn good team, right? But like you said, we were lacking that element with Kane, with Frederick. We didn't have Ekholm at times, and we talked about how beat up this team was the last 2-3 weeks of the season. And it's like, oh man, are they going to recover and be able to because this is exactly what you said. We are preparing for probably the most physical series there'll ever be. Florida is the almost perfectly built, probably the best perfectly built playoff NHL team probably in history, I would say. I know maybe they haven't won as much as some teams in history, but I would say they are built for the playoffs, the prototypical team more so than probably any other team we've seen. And you have to play a certain way. They force you to match what they do and play their game. You have to beat them at their own game. and we did not have the pieces to do that with 2 weeks left in the season based on the
I
injuries.
barely had the pieces to put a roster together in the last 2 weeks in the season.
So to be where we are now and actually be confidently able to handle that sort of play and compete in this style of play it's phenomenal. I don't even know how to describe it.
And we're even seeing things like Kasperi Kapanen, right? He's been like, where is this coming from? Right? I'm not just talking about the 2 assists he got last night, but I'm just more impressed at the physicality he's brought. Hey, there was only one guy on the Oilers that had more hits than Kapanen last night, and that was Evander Kane.
Yeah. He's unbelievable.
Right? And this isn't the only game where he's been near the top of the board in the hit count for the Oilers. Yes, Kasperi Kapanen, that guy, the guy that was booted around in Toronto and kicked out of Pittsburgh because he doesn't play hard enough, doesn't play defensive hockey. He's fast and can put up points a little bit, but that's all he's got. No, we're seeing that it's way different than that. He's shutting everybody up right now, and I love it.
Yeah, he got the memo. He's bought into whatever that Oilers dressing room is selling to him for sure.
Absolutely. We'll get to more Oilers-oriented breakdowns of what happened on some of the goals, including what happened to or how Kapanen contributed. But I want to get to this third Panthers goal first. I viewed it as a comedy of errors, and a lot of it was initiated by Carter Verhaeghe. So the way I see it, John Klingberg pinches on the right half wall. And Connor Brown as the high F3, and he plays right wing, same side as Klingberg. His responsibility is then to cover for Klingberg. Makes sense. But I can't remember who the Panthers player on the wall was, but they got a chip out to the middle of the ice. Puck lands on Verhaeghe's stick. He's got a little bit of speed, and in most situations, you'd expect most guys to just, continue skating forward, carry the puck out. But Verhaeghe did something real interesting. He literally just stopped in the middle of the ice, right? And that allowed a couple guys to go skating by him. Sam Bennett on the left, and who pinched up? It was Nate Schmidt on his left side. Or yeah, Bennett on the right, Nate Schmidt on the left. And so Verhaeghe stopped up, hit Schmidt with the pass, streaking. But that little hesitation, what that did is that kind of baited Brown into changing his route. Instead of going to cover back for Klingberg, he then kind of went over, made a motion to come over to Verhaeghe, and that opened up the passing lead to Schmidt. Right. So now we're caught. Jake Wallman has to vacate his left side to go cover for Klingberg and Brown. So he's out of position. And that leaves the right side of the ice all open for Sam Bennett. And that little stop also forced Adam Henrique, who was backtracking on Bennett. That forced Henrique to stop, and Bennett got ahead of him, and there was no way Henrique was catching him. And Bennett made no mistake on the partial break. So it's a little bit of a coverage error, a little bit of defensive misread between Brown and Wallman there. But I give Verhaeghe a lot of credit for that smart little play.
He's a clever player. And again, that puck was in the offensive zone. It didn't exit the Florida zone till 18:05 on the clock, and the puck was in the net at 18:01. Like, just amazing transition. And Bennett, I tell you, I was watching that live, and I was questioning whether that was offside or not live. I was like, like someone's got to have looked at that. And I know no one challenged, no one even talked about it. So I'm like, okay, I trust that someone looked at it. And I did look at it myself later, and it was definitely onside, but like Bennett had to drag, like he was to the net in a hurry from the time you crossed the blue line. And Florida, there was 3 or 4 times where I actually was like live going, that's offside. That has to be offside. And it wasn't when I went back to look at it. They're so good at timing it, but going so fast. So it didn't happen a lot. There wasn't a lot of room out there, but when they were able to make room, like you're pointing at what Verhaeghe did to create that extra little bit of time and space. As soon as there's even a sniff that there's going to be a turnover in the defensive zone, one Panther is taking off high, and they're doing that pass and they're trying to streak that far side winger. And there was probably 5 or 6 times where they got the opportunities. It wasn't one after the other. It was kind of out of nowhere, out of the blue, and then either they scored or they didn't. But to be able to take advantage of that situation or create it from nowhere. I mean, 4 seconds from your own end to the net, right? And if he'd have missed, the Oilers would have recovered, and they're playing defensively sound enough that probably there wouldn't have been a lot of significant sustained ozone time there. It was just that you get your one and done is what Florida was getting, um, and they just happened to bury that one. But it can
Yeah.
happen in the blink of an eye like that. It's crazy.
And if the Oilers are going to make a mistake, that's the type of mistake they make. It's something like near the offensive blue line, and it's a rush chance coming the other way. Now, they just got done playing LA, Vegas, and Dallas, who are three of the best rush teams in the league. And they found a way to get by those guys, and two of those series in 5 games. So they've done a pretty good job of not shooting themselves in the foot throughout most of the playoffs. But if there's one area where the Oilers are vulnerable, it's that one. Always has been, right? It's just, when they're playing well, they don't make those mistakes, or they don't very often. So if the Oilers can just limit those brain farts, right, they'll have a good shot. But credit to Florida for taking advantage of the one opportunity they got. Like that got them to overtime, and you never know what happens in that game, right? Overtime is a 50-50 ball. But yeah, so like I said, I thought there was a comedy of errors on that play, and it led to a odd man rush for Florida, and they made no mistake, right? Two best teams playing at this time of year, they're not going to miss that.
Yeah, you can't argue with a goal like that. You can't be upset at Skinner. You can't be bitter that a team is beating you, to take a 3-1 lead. And it's like, oh, well, if they're going to score goals like that, I'll take it. It's not like it was a blooper or, we were getting pounded in our zone for 5 minutes and they just scored off that. Um, you know, that's a playoff goal by a team that has found a way for multiple players a balanced scoring lineup to score a goal. I mean, it was Sam Bennett. We all know who he is, but there's there's a lot of people tied for second on that team in points, if you know what I mean. Like they can find other ways to do it, and
Yeah.
um, that's what's thrilling about this too. The Oilers are kind of the same way right now. We're getting a lot of balanced play. Although this is the first time I will say, glad some stranger brought that up. This is the first time I'll say that I was disappointed in one of our lines. Honestly, it might be the first time all playoffs where a line was that weak compared to their counterparts for that long, for almost the entire game. It's not like they just had a bad period or they made one bad mistake. There was just something about them that was off last night.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what it is, right? I'm not sure if Henrik just got put in a bad matchup, or if Brownie's injury is something a little more serious that he's just gutting it out during, right? And there could be a number of factors in there, but yeah, they didn't have a great game last night. Call a spade a spade.
I mean,
But
to not say that until round 4 is pretty good. Like to say,
yeah,
"Oh, I'm
absolutely.
finally disappointed in a line," but whatever,
Hey,
whatever it was.
I like to be a positive guy as much as I can, but I also got to call a spade when I see it, right? Like, yeah, I write about the Oilers, right? So I got to be as objective as I can. Well, I mean, you look behind me, you can see all this Oilers stuff I got on my wall and my body, but I do in my analysis, I do try to be as objective as possible. So uh, when someone's having a bad game like that, yeah, let's be honest about it, right? They're having a bad game. They've been good all playoffs, but that one particular game, not so good.
Yeah, and it's too bad because when they're on, like they make such a difference. Uh, it's
Yeah.
not like they're just like holding on when they're on the ice. They can make some things happen. Connor Brown, like what a what a story he's been since he came to Edmonton, especially in terms of our playoff runs, right? Renegade man, 83. Jake Wallman was a great addition to the Oilers, for sure. How many times did he hit with a puck last night?
Yeah, he had two. He took two real bad ones.
Oh,
One in the shoulder in the first period, and I think he took one in the knee closer to the end of the game. But yeah, I thought Baldwin was fantastic last night. Like I just talked about the goal where he was kind of involved in some poor decision making. But aside from that one instance, I thought he was fantastic.
he he's such a strong puck mover. It makes confident, smart plays. There's not a time where he throws it up that it's coming right back to him. He puts it in a place where even if it doesn't quite go on a stick, it's in an area where it gives the Oilers time to reset and adjust. It's not coming back the other way. He's very smart that way. And he's able to rush the puck out when he has to. Like he's not afraid to carry it. And we've needed another puck moving defenseman for some time. So it's and there's other things that he looked so uncomfortable for most of the game after he got hit with those shots. You see him on the I was like, how is he? Based on his face, I'm like, why is this guy even still playing? And yet he's still got this vibe and this energy enough to even that picture of him kind of laughing at the Florida player when they got the penalty in overtime or whatever. Like I didn't even think he would be capable of speaking, let alone smiling, based on how much pain he looked like he was in. But he was still getting the job done. Like there's just something about him that, and I gotta say, there's got to be a lot. Like Edmonton is a destination team now. Players want to come here, and when they come here, they are feeding off whatever the vibe is that they're putting out in that environment, in that room, in the culture we have now. And he just seems like someone who's really excited to be here, and he's playing like it.
Yeah, that's something that's really nice to see and hear as an Oilers fan, right? Like we're at the top of everybody's no trade lists all the time for so many years. It's cold here, it's dark here, there's nothing to do here, blah 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 blah. Well, look at us now, right?
Yeah,
Look at this team that we've created, and look at the city of buzz. And I mean, it's an amazing city at this time of year. It's so green and lush, and it's just we're passionate about our hockey. And yeah, anyway, I'll stop gushing about my city for a second here. But yeah, you're right. It's great to see that guys actually want to be here and are excited about getting traded here and actually want to come here in free agency. It's definitely nice to see. And yeah, Wallman's Exhibit A. He's been fantastic and he's been a joy to watch.
and everything that this team needed as far as
Yes.
defensive depth.
Yeah. Great
Uh,
trade deadline dead or pickup. And I thought that was very intelligent use of that first round pick. Not
yeah,
only are you getting a guy that fills a need, right? Top four, can play either side, moves the puck real well, but he's under the age of 30, right? That wasn't Ken Holland's move. Ken Holland was like the older the better, right? We got another year of control on Wallman, and I'm not going to be upset if we re-sign him for another 2, 3, 4 years afterwards because he'll still have some tread left in those tires.
yeah,
So there's a chance he could be here for a long time, which is awesome.
yeah. I'm looking forward to. My brother's a Detroit fan. He was telling me about. Oh, you don't know what you're getting. He's so good, and he's sad to see him go to Detroit. But I'm definitely happy to have him here. There's
Yeah.
no doubt about it.
Yeah, I'm also friends with the Wingspan. I was texting him the day we traded for Wallman. And I was like, well, why did Eiserman get rid of this guy again? Like, I thought he was good. And yeah, he was just as confused as we were.
Uh, that's
But yeah, Wallman was fantastic. But so let's talk about some of the things that happened that led to the comeback. Let's get into some of these Oilers goals that happened, starting with that Arvidsson goal a couple minutes after that Sam Bennett breakaway goal. What a shot. Arvidsson's a little dude, but he's got a cannon. Like he won the hardest shot competition at the Oilers skills comp this year. But he doesn't get that slap shot off very often. But when he does, he hits it.
I I was joking to my son because it hit Bobrovsky sort of, and then trickle like almost like trickled in, and it was just a shot out of nowhere. He just got it off so quickly, right? So I looked at my son and I was like, "What? How did that muffin squeeze through?" And even he looked at me and goes, "You thought that was a muffin? Like what?" It was a great shot, and it was that spot right above the pad, in that awkward place for a goalie to grab,
Yeah.
and it just got off his stick so fast, you just can't react, and it finds a way. And it was like at a moment when, like it's cliche and it's easy to say. It's all like when a team comes out to a 1 or 2 nothing lead, and then the announcer says, "And that's the exact start they wanted." Well, yeah, no crap. Like, of course you do, but you always want a goal. But that goal couldn't have come at a better time when actually the game was almost in this little bit of a lull phase. And it's not like we had a lot of pressure and you could feel it coming. It just sort of happened, right? It just sort of all of a sudden it's 3-2, and it was that it was a game defining moment where all of a sudden, even though for the next shifts after that, again, it was sort of this chess match lull. Even after that goal for a bit, it felt different because now it's only a 1 goal game instead of a 2 goal game. So, like,
Yeah.
just to have a, a play like that, a shot like that, and to have it happen in sort of one of those very plain, mundane parts of the game was just it was like, I don't even know. Like, it was just like one of those ones where it's like, what's gonna oh, it went in, and then it's almost like the celebration went away quickly, and you almost forget it's 3-2 as the game, like the next couple shifts. It's like there was like no, I don't know. It was like a blip in the radar of that game, and yet it was such a, a crucial thing. I don't know how else to describe it.
Yeah, like the Oilers needed that. They did. Like the Panthers were, I mean, that goal to put them up 3-1, the building was starting to feel a little lifeless. And Florida, like, I thought they had the better play in the second period overall.
Yes.
That one moment was kind of huge, right? It was an innocuous enough play, a little 2-on-2. Podkol, I like shout out to Podkols and great job driving the net there and good timing by Arvidsson. Just kind of hit that shot right when Podkolzin was driving through, and there's a bit of a screen, and you plowed it right through Bobrovsky, right under the glove over the pad. Right, it's a very simple play. Sometimes just get shots on net and good things happen, and something good happened for Arvidsson in the Oilers on that one.
Yes, it's amazing how the shot count reflected the play. Sometimes that's not the case, but the Oilers played better in the first period. The shots reflected that. They had an 8-9 shot advantage, and then some in the second period. Next thing I look up, and Florida has like a 2-shot lead over the Oilers, and it's like, how did that happen? And then by the time the end of the third, overtime happened, it was back up to that 8, 9, 10 shot difference the other way. And somehow Arvidsson picked his spot in the moment where it was completely flipped the opposite way.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, what a time for a second goal of the playoffs. Like, that was great to see. And especially after he got healthy scratch for a little bit there, for him to start contributing like that, that's big for him and big for the club.
Yeah, and he was thrown around a bit last series. He's not. We joke about how unstable he is on his skates at times, and
Yep.
he definitely was handled pretty well against Dallas, against some of their bigger defenders. So it was nice in game one. He didn't really have those moments where he's in a board battle and it's like the Florida player just kind of picks him up and just flings him away. He was involved last night. He was finding his feet. He was gaining his ground again, and it was nice to see him rewarded for that.
Yeah. Like, you can't say he's not willing, right? Like he gets
Right.
his nose in the battle, he gets his nose dirty. Yeah, this respectable player for sure. And yeah, great to see him get rewarded with that goal. And let's break down the third goal for the Oilers, the game tying goal. We got a little give and go with Sammy, his father, Kasperi Kapanen, and McDavid. Right, McDavid kind of he gained entry into the zone. He got trapped by a couple Panthers, but found a way to make a nice little play to Kapanen in the middle of the ice. McDavid keeps going down the wall, and Kapanen kind of fills that spot that just got vacated on the right wing, gives it right back to McDavid below the circle. And McDavid does McDavid things. As Ekholm said, defenders start looking at McDavid when the puck, when he gets it down low like that, feathers a little backhand pass out into the slot, and Ekholm pounds it home. Like, just a great little sequence by Kapanen and McDavid there, and great shot by Ekholm.
So that one you could see coming. That was one of those ones where you're on the kind of inching towards the edge of your seat, and then you can feel it, and you're starting to rise up, and then it goes completely the opposite of the Arvidsson goal, in my opinion. You could just sense that coming, and as soon as you see Ekholm sneak down, it's like if he could find a way. And actually, last year, one of the things that really struck me in Game 7 was the last 12 seconds where Ekholm went into the slot and it was in the corner. And if they could have just got it out of the corner, but Florida pinned them in and the seconds counted down. And there's that big stick slam in the slot. And he was just waiting for it. And he was frustrated. 3 seconds left and he just slams the stick down. And it was like, okay, now here he comes. It's the same spot. It's the same situation. And it comes to him and he makes no mistake. But it's so smart by McDavid because if he doesn't make that pass at the blue line, it sounds risky to make a pass 1 foot inside the blue line straight across, and you're risking a turnover. But if he doesn't do that, he's leaving himself open to get blasted by the 2 Florida players that are stepping up on him. But because he no longer has possession, they have to ease up on him. Now, sometimes they don't, and they get away with it, but they have to ease up on him by rule. And in this case, they did, and it allowed him to put himself in a position where he could get the puck back. And that's what it's so hard to get that through to young players about. They wonder why they get hit so much, and they wonder why players are targeting them, quote unquote, is like what they like to say. It's because you're not passing the puck. That's why. If you move the puck, look to get it back. And McDavid did that, and players he plays with. I don't know how I'd handle playing with a player like McDavid, but they're smart enough to, pass it back to him, right? They're smart enough to figure out where he wants the puck put. And then for, again, in a situation where it's not just about driving the net or crashing and hoping. It's, he's making a choice. He's the whole time he's down there, he's evaluating who's where and what should I do with, like, he's just so good at that. So that pass that he made out was, in my opinion, very intentional. It reached the right target. I know that was a bit of a debate. It reached the right target, and it was timed so perfectly. There was the goal in game 1 against LA. Same, he was coming out of the other corner, and he had to time it just so that there was a sliding defender. And if he'd have missed time, if he'd held on the puck too long, he would have been behind the net, and the angle would have been gone. But if he'd have passed it too early, it would have been blocked by that defender. And somehow he was able to find that 0.5 second window of time and just put the puck perfectly across the crease. And even though everyone knows that player, right-handed shot, of course he's going to pass it over there, and of course he's going to put it in. The deception of McDavid's timing of the pass and the placement of the pass makes it so that it's an easier goal to score. And I'm certainly not taking anything away from Ekholm, but same thing. It's about waiting for the right moment, the right angle, the right trajectory, the right time to slip that pass through. I mean, it could have got blocked by anything, and somehow it didn't. And that's not luck. It's a skill. It's a timing perfected by one of the best players in the world, making an elite play that looks so simple, and yet it's such a delicate play to get that puck from point A to point B. And so it's, I don't know. Sometimes we take it for granted because they make it look so easy. But that simple pass was not that simple. It just became simple because I think he kind of knew what he was doing before he even got the puck, and so we had everything laid out and made it look that easy.
And this is Connor McDavid we're talking about, right? I mean, first of all, always on the edge of your seat whenever he gets the puck and moving downhill towards the net, right?
Yeah.
But most players in that situation, they might think to throw it up front because they're taught, get the puck to the net, right? Throw it up front, throw it into the slot, see what happens. But he had to feather that through 2 or 3 bodies, and he had to when things are moving that fast. Like I don't know if he saw the exact passing lane to Ekholm. Like I feel like that pass would have had a little more zip on it if he had seen that exact passing lane. But he knew, okay, I've got my left D coming in for the point there. If I just feather this softly, if I get this in the right spot, he can walk into it. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. So, like, I think part of that is reading the play and reacting to it, but part of it is also just his hockey IQ. He knows where everybody is on the ice and where they're supposed to be. And Ekholm was right where he was supposed to be. Sometimes that's all you need to do when you're playing with a guy like Connor. Just be in the right spot.
Just be there. I play with a guy who likes to do that very same thing, and I find if I hold up and delay, even though I'm a forward, I'll hold up like I'm a D and then trickle in, and everyone's down low and focused on that puck. And I know that he's not gonna. He wants to suck everyone down, and even though everyone expects him to shoot, I know he never is going to. He's just gonna throw it back into an area, and I just always go to that area. Um, Now, again, this isn't NHL level stuff I'm talking about here, but it is hockey IQ. It's a hockey sense to be able to play with a player like that. Um, I mean, at the speed and the pace that he makes those decisions, but I feel like they're good enough to slow the game down and make that happen. The choices they make, by the time he crossed the blue line and passed that puck across, he knew exactly where he was going to be when he got it back. And it's just a matter of whether the puck carrier is going to realize that or not. It's Connor McDavid's game, and everyone else is just kind of playing in it. And that's it worked out great. But like the you could feel it coming. It's exciting, and you're just edge of your seat moment, and it's going in, and it's like I'm all like pre-celebrating that goal before it happened because it's almost like it was scored, and now you're just waiting to see how it's going to be scored. It was just one of those moments where you could feel it, and you just knew it was going to happen.
That's the way that third period was going. The Oilers had
Oh
the better of the play, and we've seen this play out so many times in the playoffs. Like you don't want to say you're expecting the game to be tied, but like you're kind of expecting the game to get tied up at that point, right?
absolutely. And it's not like they haven't, like I said, this playoff, never count them out. Never.
Yeah, if we've learned one thing about this team is that they're never out of a hockey game. It's been a lot of fun to watch. And what did you think of the play in the overtime period? Like it's just like not we'll get to the goal in a minute, but just the way the overtime played out. Like Florida, that first few minutes, that was nerve wracking because they were all over us.
I
But I
didn't
thought we
think
started to take it to them.
for sure. I didn't think we'd get out of the first 2.5 minutes. Honest to
Yeah,
God.
it's funny how OTs work like that. It's either like it happens boom right away, or it's like we're gonna be here a while. And
Yeah.
we got through those first couple minutes, right?
Somehow, I don't know how, that was relentless. Now that is one of the ones I look back. Remember I said there was a few times where it looked like Florida was offside. They were going so fast. There was a zone entry 30 seconds in that was a good 3 feet offside. And that did set the table for that overtime, where you know, like I said, it was the first couple minutes, and part of that was that zone entry, and then we were hemmed in for like a good minute after that, and barely getting the puck out when really there shouldn't have been a zone entry at all. It was that far offside. I like even watching it live, I was like, okay, that one I know for sure it was. But w- we those things happen, and if they'd have scored off it and no one did anything about it, you, all you can do is move on to the next game, right? Because it is what it is. But at the same time, it did create that flurry of activity and that hectic play. And then Florida made a couple of smart line changes in the offensive zone and really hemmed us in there a little bit. So again, kudos to the Oilers for being able to reset. Like it would have been easy to just be overwhelmed and say, "Oh boy, Florida got us again. Here we go." But to turn the tables, not just to survive, but then to actually put your foot on your own gas pedal and turn the tables so much. Like it was two different periods. And Edmonton had the pressure for longer. We're for the first three minutes or so, first 3 to 4 minutes, versus a good 12 minutes the other way, and then leading to obviously what the finish of the game. But just to be able to take the top team in the league, who has won before and who is very intimidating and who can be overwhelming and mentally frustrating at times in a game that was already pretty mentally frustrating and taxing, and then you know in a fourth period of that, being able to flip the game and tilt the ice so definitively, it's just impressive what they're doing.
Yeah, and that just speaks to the mental fortitude and the resilience of this team. Like it's not just reflected in the comeback, but it's even just that territorial advantage that you get during the game. It's kind of like watching that defensive struggle of a football game where teams are just fighting for field position, right? To earn that back from the Panthers at that time, that was awesome to see. Like that says a lot about this Oilers team for sure. And I was looking at natural stat trick earlier, and it said that Florida had a slight edge in total scoring chances and in overtime. Even high dangers were the same, but it didn't feel like that. Like I thought the Oilers had some of the best chances in the overtime period. Like that breakaway play by Kapanen, I was so excited when I saw him split the D like that and still have a chance to get a shot on net. I was
Mm.
ready to just celebrate that one. Like 5 hole, 5 hole Kapanen, 5 hole, just about scored. I think if he goes 5 hole there, it's in, but just missed it on the far side.
Man, that came out of nowhere. Like, I didn't expect him to get the puck across the defender at the blue line that way, to get the inside that way, but somehow it was almost like he just, in not touching the puck or whatever, it's just the puck just sort of went where he needed it to go. It's like he sometimes you try and do too much. He did too little, and somehow it worked. Like, it just was confusing, and all of a sudden he found himself in that situation. Um, but, like, the goal Connor McDavid scored against Dallas to seal it when everything was we were under siege, and then he goes down and scores that quick, in tight, somehow pull it to his forehand goal.
Yeah.
And we talked about, like, no other player is scoring a goal like that. It just happens so fast. His hands are having to react so quickly to the pace his body's going. And when you look at that play by Kapanen, he did what he could, but he was in so tight, he was going so fast. He tried to pull it and try and shoot, and he just couldn't get everything to line up at the right time. And so it just really, I mean, I hate to bring everything back to Connor McDavid, but, like, he probably has a better chance of getting that just because he can do things at a higher pace, right? So it's not to take anything away from Kapanen. It's just to show that how elite that goal was against Dallas, and how difficult it is to make your hands do that in such a tight space, under that much pressure.
Yeah. Like even me when I'm on the ice, like hey, when I was younger, I used to be able to deke. That was the only way I could score goals. But in my old age, I'm finding like I don't have the feet to do that anymore. Like the hands are still okay, but my feet just don't make my body move that quickly side to side anymore. Right? I mean, those boys have the feet that I'll never claim to be able to have or to have had. Um, but yeah, you're totally right. To do that at such a high speed, though, like that McDavid goal against Dallas was ridiculous, and that move, like that Kapanen pulled off. Like, I remember Bobrovsky's coming off the poke check him there. Like, he committed to the poke check, and Kapanen was able to get a stick on it and pull it to his forehand and at least get a shot off. It just
Yeah.
didn't quite go for him. It grazed the outside of the post.
But I'm thinking back to your comment about the natural Satric saying about the high danger chances, but probably total. I can almost see total that they would have more, but theirs happened in a 2-minute span versus
Yeah,
the Oilers spreading it out over a longer period of time. So if you look at, like, high danger chances per minute, maybe there would be a different reflection on that. The way the period went, there was a funny moment in overtime I think there was about 6 minutes left. I can't remember the exact time count, but it was pretty deep into overtime. And it's like I said, it was a challenging game. The overtime, my son was dying to stay awake. He was like blinking and like he was out of it. He was pinching his arm to stay awake. Um, and it seemed like every single face-off, there was almost like 3 different puck drops. We were talking about that, and that happened a lot
Yeah.
in overtime. It was the overtime that wouldn't move forward. It was like it was just stuck in sand. And so again, a very mentally challenging period in a very, very significant moment, overtime Stanley Cup Finals, and it's choppy, and you've been under the stress of under all this pressure as an Edmonton player, and now you have the pressure, and as a Florida player, now you're back on your heels a little bit, and with about, like I said, about 6 minutes left, there was a play where Florida just innocently shot the puck up, it hit a stick, went up in the netting, and all the players are like kind of just pointing and waiting for the linesman to blow the whistle. And then the puck settles down in the corner, and Wallman is slowly skating for it. And Sam Bennett makes a beeline from the blue line. He has no real business or no reason to go for that puck, but it's the mental mind game of I'm going to get that puck and take it off his stick so that he's uncomfortable in that moment. I don't know, like it was just like that puck in that corner in a whistle that means nothing was so important that he went down and tried to beat Wallman to it, and Wallman saw it coming and pushed the puck away from him, and they both just kind of went about their business as if nothing happened. But at the same time, it was just one of those ones where okay, Wallman won that little game within the game, that mind game, where even though he didn't walk away with the puck under full control, that's what Bennett didn't want him to do. Wallman was making darn sure that Bennett wasn't getting that puck and doing it either, so he just pushed it away. I don't know. It was just one of those moments where, as a player, you're like, "Yeah, I would do that too." It's one of those ones where, like, if a guy drops his stick and then you like knock it away as he goes to pick it up or something, like it's just one of those things you do for no reason, even if you're not that kind of person. And it's like a game within the game, and to still be doing that and be that mentally in and set in the game at that moment of the game, it's just kind of one of those lighthearted, but one of those moments where it's like, okay, these guys are dialed in, and little things matter, and that might matter to someone, like, to irritate them or get them off their game a little bit, and both players were able to handle it professionally. As childish as it is, they both handled it really professionally and walked away from that with their own little feelings about it. It's just one of those things that struck me as very funny.
Yeah, Wallman's the hero we didn't know we needed.
Exactly.
I wanted to bring up some stranger's comment for that little story again. But that sounds like a very Bennett and a very Panthery thing to do, right? The little mind games,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
But that's hockey, though. That's just stuff like that makes it fun.
I loved it. I loved it. I was like, "Yes, I can get behind this for sure."
Absolutely. We've got about 15 minutes left, and we'll do a little refresh here. This is Oilers Live. If you're listening on Edmonton Sports Talk using TuneIn Radio or iHeartRadio, thanks a lot for tuning in. And thanks to everybody for tuning in on YouTube and X and Facebook as well. So let's get to the overtime goal. Now, the Oilers didn't get anything going on the power play throughout most of the game. They had trouble getting some chances happening. I thought Florida played a pretty passive penalty kill throughout most of the game. They just happened to be in the right spots, and they didn't have to work hard to get there. Like they did a good job of pre-scouting, knowing just the spots to settle in and where they needed to put the sticks to make life difficult for the Oilers. But that all changed on that power play. It all started with Seth Jones coming out to challenge Nugent Hopkins up high in the zone for like needlessly. I don't know why he as a defenseman would have vacated that spot and went to Nuge so aggressively there, but he did. And Nuge makes the right play down to the corner to Perry. And then we get Nico Mikkola coming over to rotate because Jones is out of position. Perry makes this beautiful, soft little behind the back pass to McDavid. And now we got a 2-on-1 that Barkov is left to defend. I mean, he's the Selke Trophy winner again, but that's a 2-on-1 below your own goal line with the two best players in the world. Ain't nobody stopping that,
Oh,
right? You got Leon crashing the net from his office, and the best player in the game feeding him the puck. Game over.
there's nothing you can do with that, is there? Um, on the zone entry, Bouchard was clipped at the line, um, and he was down. And so they like to go to that left side half wall and go through Nuge and up to Bouchard, who then walks, and then they set from there. And I wonder if maybe Jones realized that Bouchard was down and maybe not available for that little outlet pass, and maybe he thought he could get to Nugent Hopkins quick enough before that set up and make a turnover. I don't know. It was quite a time to make that choice for sure. But
Yeah.
credit Nugent Hopkins. Credit him for having the patience to not panic. He didn't just throw it down the wall. He rotated, turned his back to absorb the contact and sucked Jones out enough that that pass would actually beat him. And it allowed Perry to react and get into that lane. If he passed that even 2 seconds sooner, that other Florida player probably would have been able to cut it off. But he allowed everyone time to react to what he was going to do and put themselves in that position. And again, credit Perry. A lot of players would have just turned up the wall and done what Nugent Hopkins did and hold on for as long as you can and wait for someone down there. But I don't know if it's just if you just feel McDavid there below you, or if he did a quick count and realized, "Hey, I see three Panthers, so there can only be one back there." But for whatever reason, in making that choice to not follow the natural course of play, to just put that puck back away from the natural course of play, opened up that down low 2-on-1, which is like I think you pointed out, like, not usually where the Oilers are attacking from by any means, right? Like everything
Yeah.
is high and cross seam. So I don't know why those heavenly gates just opened up, but then you have a 2-on-1 with the best players in the world, and yeah, everyone knows he's going to pass his right. So again, it's one of those ones like everyone knows, and Bobrovsky is very good laterally, so he could potentially, if he just decided to guess and push off a second earlier, he's probably going to be right. But there's just something about the way McDavid releases the puck that you don't know quite when. He does something with his hands just to throw off your timing a little bit, and it happens so quickly that yeah, you got to go like Draisaitl with his release. He's not making that save, and yet everyone, even though everyone in the world knows where that puck is going to, and again, it's one of those ones you see the down low 2-on-1, and you're like, this is it. And before that power play happened, I had no reason to think this. Our power play wasn't great all night. And it certainly, like you said, the first little bit of that one wasn't anything spectacular. But before, as soon as the penalty happened, as soon as it was called, I looked at my son and said, this is it. Because this power play is not going 0 for 4. It will not happen. And sure enough. So again, it was like one of those ones where it's like I am watching the game the next day and I saw the score and already knew what was going to happen. And now I'm just watching the game to see how it happened. If that's what that power play felt like. Even though I had no right, no business as a fan thinking that way, there was nothing leading up to that would make me feel that confident in our power play. There's just something about this year where as a fan, I'm just calm, relaxed, and it's like, okay, this is it. And you just kick back. I don't know. It's like very relaxing and rewarding.
Yeah, I had a similar thought. It was more like power play in overtime, licking my chops. Like, here we go. Like, we got just enough time to squeeze this power play in, or most of it anyway. I think there was 153 left, something like that, right?
Yeah.
Um, it wasn't one of those. Normally, at the end of a period where it's broken up between two periods, those power plays are usually tough because you don't have a lot of time to get into a rhythm. But like, they had a minute 53. It's basically a full power play,
Yeah.
right? And they did what they did. Yeah, I mean, Nugent Hopkins did a great job there. Like the timing, as you talked about, and you could see him shoulder check a couple times. Like you could see that he was very intentional about that. He knew what he was doing. And then Corey Perry, the play that he made. I mean, I know the guy's 40, but the dude's a Rocket Richard winner, and like he's got the mind of a scoring winger, like that can play top six and lead a franchise to a cup. Like he's got that mind. He thinks the game so well. So yeah, he made a great little play to McDavid there, and I'm going to say the rest is history there. The Panthers were caught over rotating and help defense, and you got Barkov defending in a spot where he's not used to defending. Two best players in the world. Now, I mean, to Bobrovsky's credit and to your point, like he's good enough laterally, and he did get over there. Like he was there. That shot went underneath his glove. It didn't go over the glove. It didn't go into the open net like the game's opening goal that Draisaitl got. Like that went under Bobrovsky's glove. Like another couple inches one way or the other, and we're talking about that big save that Bobrovsky made. But nope, Leon found a spot.
For sure. And so you can probably speak to this as someone who pays attention to more of the advanced stats. But speaking of Corey Perry, on that top unit, and we have the Hyman injury, which last year, not I'm not saying Hyman's playing bad by any means, but last year that probably would have been more significant for us to have him out. I just feel like that would have affected our power play and all that. Whereas Corey Perry, if I'm not mistaken, maybe it's just my memory, but I feel like he's been more on the top unit for a long stretch than Hyman has been.
You're totally right.
Like so Hyman, I don't know. There's something about Hyman, and credit to him and respect to him for stepping down from that and being able to adapt to a sort of a new place and a new role. And there's a reason Corey Perry's on the ice in that moment, in that pivotal time, and the age he's at and what he's doing to be able to. Could you imagine 2 years ago us saying like we're gonna break? We were laughing when there was jokes about the Oilers trading for Sidney Crosby even or whatever. We were just kind of joking about it and going, would he even get on our first unit power play? And this is Sidney Crosby
Right.
resigning. Who would you take off? And all of a sudden we're putting Corey Perry on there and we're happy about it, right? Like,
Yep.
He's doing such a phenomenal job there.
He is, and like your observation is totally correct. I was looking at this for a piece I was doing earlier in the conference finals, and Perry has more power play time than Hyman. Like even before the injury, like Perry was getting more ice time on the power play, so spending more time with the top unit. I think part of that might be because they started giving Hyman a little more penalty kill time. Right, that was something they started pretty early in the first round. So not to exhaust Hyman, they took him off the power play a little bit, knowing that they had Perry as a reliable option. And because they saw it, like Hyman missed some games in the regular season, and Perry had to step in. It's like Perry's fine, and right, like we know Perry's Perry, he's fine,
right?
And he's only responded by being tied for the team lead in goals entering the Stanley Cup final.
I mean,
right?
That's pretty good. Pretty good, right?
It's okay, I guess. No, you're absolutely right. Perry's been fantastic, not just on the power play too. Like he's been good 5-on-5 as well. His 5-on-5 metrics has been fantastic. Playing up on the top line, regardless of where he's been, it's just been awesome.
He took a couple of untimely penalties, right? And not ones you can argue, like they were good calls. I mean, like just kind of unlucky, unfortunate, high sticking or whatever. It was very frustrating penalties to take. And then he even served the penalty where we had the coach's challenge. So he's in the box 3 times in the first period. It's like, oh my god.
Yeah, so we're still sitting here singing his praises. So that's all good. So we got a few. I think we got 6 minutes left if my math is correct. And let's talk a little bit about Game 2. Big home game for the Oilers. Like you're never in trouble until you lose a game on home ice, right? That's what the Panthers have got to be thinking, and the Oilers have got to be thinking they got to take care of business on home ice here, right? So that was an evenly played first game. Not a lot to pick and choose between the two teams, but there's one observation that I made during the game, and it was a Bobrovsky observation. Like he's really good laterally, but the Oilers were doing a really good job of getting him to move laterally. And it wasn't because of cross ice passes. It was because of point shots that were getting to the net that maybe weren't quite on net. They're forcing him to move, right? Like a lot of the shots might have just missed a little wide or been like off the post kind of deal, but Bobrovsky had to move laterally on a lot of those plays. And you look at a lot of the goals that the Oilers scored, right? The first one was it was either a rebound or a bounce, and Leon's open on the glove side and wide open net. Right, the overtime goal got him moving laterally. They put it away glove side, and we found the flaw with Bobrovsky in the Cup final last year, which was glove side. All 4 goals last night were glove side. Was it like the Arvidsson slap shot went underneath the glove? The Ekholm shot was over the glove. The OT winner under the glove. Right?
Yes,
I
yeah.
think if they can continue doing that to Bobrovsky, they'll have similar success in game 2. What do you got?
Well, that speaks to the Oilers' ability. I know we talk about the boards in our own end, winning those board battles in the defensive zone, trying to get the puck out, but we are absolutely ferocious on the end walls in the offensive zone. I, even when it's 1-on-2, somehow our player is able to fight them off long enough to get possession. And so you talk about our D probably missing the net on purpose a little bit and getting those careens, but there's the trust that our players are going to be able to get down there and win those loose pucks or fight for those rebounds. And against a team like Florida, that is not easy to do. Um, so like I, f- I feel like that's another cliche. This game's going to be won in the trenches, but it's because both teams, and this was not true of the Oilers last year, but both teams now are so good at keeping the puck out of those fun areas that you have to go into the not so fun areas if you want to get the puck and make things happen. They're so good at slowing the game down. I mean, there was I said somewhere like that was like an 80s style game almost. So there was like not a lot of room. It was slow. I almost expected a face off to be just randomly in between the top of the circle and the blue line like they used to do sometimes. That's how much 80s it felt like. Like it just thought things like that were going to happen. But there was bursts of modern game speed and pace that came out of it. Like when the Panthers got their third goal, for instance, or a few of those chances. The Oilers were able to also get their breaks as well, but they're few and far between now. So whoever is going to be able to gut it out and get into those gritty areas, there's no escape from it this series. Both teams are too good at protecting the middle of the ice. So you have to find a way to create that space on your own. Um, Game 2, I'll take 7 games like this. I will. Like, and may the best team win. I think this is what the series is going to be like. It's going to be tight. There's not going to be a lot of room to move, and I can't see either team. The Panthers like it to go longer and wear a team down, but I don't see either of these teams letting up for any amount of time. I think they're mentally too willed in to wanting to win this series that they're not gonna be broken down. They're not gonna allow themselves to be worn down enough for the ice to open up at any point in the series. So I expect every game to be just like this one, and whoever's left standing at the end is left standing.
Yeah, the entire ice surface is the trenches.
Right,
Right? There's
exactly.
just no
That's a
room to
great way
move
of
out
wording
there.
it. Yeah.
All right, guys, we're just about to go off air on Edmonton Sports Talk. So if you're listening on Edmonton Sports Talk, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, thanks so much for tuning in. We'll go for a couple more minutes here on YouTube and X and Facebook, just so we can get our last words in. And I'll give you the last word tonight as our less regular guest, but less regular doesn't mean less appreciated. So definitely appreciate having you on, Josh. It's been awesome chatting with you. Um, but we got a Friday night home game 2 Stanley Cup Finals. It's gonna be fun. That's all I got for my last thoughts tonight. I'm gonna enjoy the hell out of tomorrow night. So yeah, I'll pass it over to you for your last word, Josh.
Okay. My last thoughts are to just stay positive and enjoy it. Like this is how long has it been since we've been in the final before last year? And to be in a situation where we're this primed to win. Other times we're just get in there limping, or we make the conference final and we're limping. We've never been in this good a position before with this much strength, with this much manpower left, and mentally not drained, mentally ready to go. So just buckle in, enjoy it. Don't sweat the small stuff. Don't cry about the officiating. Just be in the moment and appreciate these games for what they are. Good night.